There are a number of things that will irritate hiring managers and stop them from promoting high performers like you into senior leadership roles. The most common habits are featured in this video. There are the blind spots that I've seen the most as a leadership coach, and unless someone highlights them to you, you could continue overlooking them, getting more and more frustrated as to why you're not getting promoted into senior leadership roles. So let's discover what these common habits are. Putting yourself first is the first habit that you need to change, and it's a big shift for many people to make. The reason is, for most of your career from entry level to where you are now, you've been putting all of the focus on you. You've been gaining the skills that you need to advance in your career. You have been working at promoting your achievements so that you can be noticed by your boss. You may have even stepped on your coworkers' toes so that you could get ahead of them. Now, these are habits that you have learned and developed to get you to the point where you are right now in your career, and they may have worked. So you probably tell yourself that you need to continue doing these things in order for you to continue to advance further into your career. But I'm going to burst your bubble here. What you have been teaching yourself is only going to hurt and damage your chances of getting promoted further into leadership positions, because it's a self-centered focus that builds your ego and stops you from seeing a crucial part of what being a leader is about, and that is serving others. You may have heard the term servant leadership. You may have even seen books on servant leadership. There are many of them out there. Basically, what it means is the ability to put the needs of others ahead of your own. And as this article in Inc. says, if you aren't interested in putting others' needs before your own, leadership isn't for you. So how can you start to make the shift from focusing on yourself to focusing on others? I'm going to share 3 tips with you right now. You need to start getting to know your employees. You need to understand the challenges and the concerns that they have. And you need to listen to their needs and listen to what excites them. Simply by making this mental shift for your next meeting, it will change how you communicate and interact with your team. It will change how they see and feel about you as their manager or as their leader, and it will definitely put you in the position of being ready for a senior leadership role. Another habit that stops high performers from being promoted into senior leadership positions is wanting to impress, specifically wanting to impress your boss. You might be confused about me saying this because some of my other videos on my channel are about building visibility, and you might think that this requires you to show off or to boast about your achievements. But this is where your focus is out of date. Being able to impress is not what hiring managers look for in people that they want to promote into senior leadership roles, because it shows that you have a self-centered focus, like what we talked about in the previous point. And this is a mental state that doesn't belong in leadership, especially senior leadership. Wanting to impress can show up in a number of different ways, like what I mentioned before about wanting to talk only about your achievements or wanting to talk only about what you have learned or the knowledge that you have built. And it can also show up in other ways, more subtle ways, like you racing to share your suggestions with your boss without listening to them, without listening to what their priorities are, without listening to what their needs are first. You might communicate like this to your boss because you think it makes you look good, or it makes you look intelligent, or maybe even proactive. But what it really does is it tells them that you are not interested in learning or understanding what that problem is in the first place. You're not interested in hearing or listening to what their needs or their priorities or their concerns are first. All you are interested in is fixing that problem with your solutions so that you can be the one who gets all of the glory. So instead, you need to move from impressing to being curious. You need to be curious before you can impress. So how do you go about doing that? You can show interest in your bosses or in the greater group's needs. You can ask about their needs, their concerns, and their priorities as well. And you can listen to their answers as well as their perspectives. And from that point, you can then start to share your suggestions. This approach will help you build a lot more trust with your boss. It will help you look a lot more credible because you have understood the problem first before sharing your suggestions. And it will also make you look a lot more ready for senior leadership roles. Another big turnoff for senior leadership is somebody who rejects feedback. This means that you might get defensive when your boss gives you feedback about your performance. You might reject the suggestions they make about what you could do differently, or you might even get offended and become aggressive with them when they give you negative feedback. Now, all of this is your ego talking because you've become so successful in your career. You are a high performer. You're known to be a great worker. You can't handle it when someone even hints that you could have a weak area or an area that you need to improve on. Rather than take it in with an open mind and with the mindset that you don't know everything, you immediately reject what your boss has to say. You immediately reject any suggestions that they could make to you because you don't think that there could possibly be anything wrong with you. Maybe it's your boss who's the one who has the problem. Now, before we get into how you can take negative feedback better, let's first look at why you feel and why you react this way in the first place. And there are two main reasons. First, you connect your work with your identity. This means that you see your work as a representation of who you are as a person. And any criticism to your work is a criticism to you as a person. This is a really common occurrence with high performers and with perfectionists who are often high performers because you've put so much effort into building your career, into building your knowledge and your skills, and you've put so much of yourself into that process as well, that any kind of criticism or feedback, you take it personally. You take it as a criticism to you, to yourself as a person. And the second reason is you see negative feedback or criticism as a threat to your survival, or more specifically, a threat to your survival in the company that you work for. As soon as your boss tells you that you have done something wrong, you get stressed. Your fight or flight response kicks in and you want to get away from that situation and that person and that conversation as quickly as possible. This means that you immediately shut down and you don't even leave an opportunity to listen to what your boss has to say to you. The way you overcome these automatic responses is to first remain quiet when you are taking in that feedback. This will prevent you from reacting or responding in an unprofessional or an abrupt or an aggressive way. The second tip I'd give you is to listen to what your boss has to say, to truly listen to what they are telling you. Try not to take it personally and try not to get defensive, because maybe they are sharing a perspective with you that you have never considered before. You have to remember that they are more experienced than you, and maybe they do know something that you don't know yet. And the third thing I would suggest is to create an action plan so that you can improve in the area that they have highlighted to you, because this will make you look like you are proactive, and this will make you look to your boss like you are taking in that feedback, that you are serious about it, and that you want to improve in that area so that you can continue to improve and reach those senior leadership goals that you have. And if you are watching this and you are a manager or somebody who's in charge of a team right now, you have to remember that you probably give your team feedback all of the time. And the last thing that you would want as a manager or as a junior leader is for those people to reject the feedback that you give them. This would not make you look at them in a positive light at all. So think about this situation and use the suggestions I've shared with you in this video to improve the way that you receive feedback as somebody who is hoping to get into a senior leadership role. There are a number of other areas that you will definitely need to work on if you want to be promoted into senior leadership, like developing your executive presence, like improving your communication, or your emotional intelligence. I talk about all of these areas in another video on my channel, which you will find right up here. And don't forget to check out the other resources I have in the description below, like my podcast, The Leadership Pod, or my weekly newsletter. You'll find those resources in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.